We're here for digital transformation today. The maturity quick scan is not digital transformation. It is one entry point into digital transformation. It's one point of view to look at that. But let's go straight into it and have a look. I'm going to be talking about consumers today, but quite honestly, it doesn't matter whether you're in B2B or in your B2C. It holds true anyways. Most of our clients actually are in B2B. Some of them spoke here today that we run the automation for as well. Translate this to B2B if you're in that segment instead. What's important here is that when we communicate, and we heard about this segment of one earlier today, is that every one of us, if you take your own day, we have a different moment during the day. And depending on where we are, we want to have a different set of communication. Whether you're waking up in the morning, you're getting ready. If you're on your commute, if you're at work, the gym, and so on. If you receive a mail from your bank in the morning around your financial status, but you're taking care of the kids, it might not be the best time to actually reach you. Likewise, if you're at work, you might not want to hear about your next holiday. That fits better at a different point in time. Netflix, HBO, or wherever you watch your pieces of media entertainment need to reach you at a different time with a very different message. And we have all the data available to recognize that both in B2B and B2C today of when to send which message to whom. So being able to recognize this in the consumer journey and communicate accordingly is one step today of having efficient communication. Now we say that brands that can service their customers around, along this customer journey and across all the touch points in a personalized manner are the brands that have reached the marketing maturity. Marketing maturity is one step of digital transformation. Let's talk about what does that look like. So if we take and say, well, there's actually 5 steps in this. And if you up here says we have custom that increases and the marketing maturity goes out towards the right for you. The complexity, meaning the quantity of the data and the number of consumer touch points is going to go up accordingly. So starting out, a lot of companies are laggards. They haven't really started yet. They don't have a website. They don't have a way of interacting. There's really no e-commerce. It's all just about anything. It's batch and blast. There's one big mass communication to everyone. And all the marketing tools they have are unconnected. Moving forward to the next step is really nascent. We start some e-commerce, can B2B, B2C. If we have some basic segmentation, our marketing technology is still very separated. It's into multi-channel marketing technology. We might have some social care and some basic customer knowledge, maybe ranging from RFM, recency, frequency, and monetary analysis. When we go into emerging, this is when we have multi-channel commerce. We're able to have commerce running across different channels, which means we can also start now having more behavioral-based targeting, which requires that we have integrated some of our marketing tools. We might have launched on some marketplaces, be it B2B, B2C, with our third-party commerce, and we start to run some insight-driven offers. We're also reaching out to customers via digital media, and we start incorporating second-party data. Now when we move to connected is when we can really run omni-channel commerce. So no matter which channel we deal with our customers, they can actually we can recognize them. You can buy in one channel, return in another, or buy in one channel and get serviced in another. And that means we are more granular in our segment targeting. We're actually integrating our marketing technology tools to be able to do this. We start having potentially loyalty programs running, and we're reaching the customers via their preferred channels. Do they want to be reached on the mobile phone, via the app, with an SMS, online, is it email? Where do we want to reach? We have third-party data incorporated, we can do personalized offers. If we have retail stores, we have point-of-sale information integrated. We start seeing what kind of events are going on, and we can target accordingly to that. Now the mature state is really the multi-moment state, is the nirvana of what everyone is looking for. When we do that in MQS, you might tend to want to score yourself in this area, but I think if you look at the Western world right now, 80% is either emerging or connected. I think in Asia at the moment, we're looking at laggard, nascent, and the very advanced companies out here are in the emerging state. So just think about that when we go through it in a moment. Because the 5th state here, the multi-moment state, is really also the continuous commerce. It's the one-on-one targeting. It's the personalization at scale. It is where we have integrated all of our marketing tools, and we have really a data management platform underlying this to capture all of the data that comes in. That means we can geolocate things like weather, for instance, and we can take in time and really go in and do lifestyle-based offerings to the customers. I think most of you just take one moment and go, where am I on this? right? Where is my company on this? And it's not a whole truth. It doesn't mean that you might have a great loyalty program that scores a 3 and a 4, but you might not actually segment on the rest, and therefore you may be a 2 or a 3 on that. It's not one thing that holds true across everything. But have a think about, where am I and where would I like to move to? This is one of the first questions, and I think it was presented very well earlier by saying, where do I want to go to? What do I want to get out of this, right? And that's absolutely the first question. Now, when you look at this and you say, well, there's marketing maturity, there are 9 disciplines that actually underlies this. I just presented 3 of them underneath, but there's actually 9. The first one is, what is my offers and what is my targeting? What kind of offers have I developed and do I give to my customers? And how do I target them with these offers? In which channels do I actually bring them to the customer, right? And is that a preferred channel? And as I send an offer to somebody through that channel, is it engaging? If we're not engaged, whether we're buying business to business or business to consumer, we're not intending to buy, we're not going to go to that conversion moment. And as I have engaged them, they have purchased something from me, do I drive loyalty? In business to business and business to consumer, it is much cheaper to have people coming back and buying repeatable services from you than it is to find new customers all the time. And what is then the data, and what is I'm using, and what is the analytics I drive to actually feed this, that I make decisions based on data analytics and not just based on intuitive or marketing department that thinks the next nice slide up, nice picture of something happening with the brand is going to drive that sale, right? What am I basing that on? And when I have all this information, I have analyzed it, I get to my insights, do I have the technology to support that I can run that segment of one? I've been to a lot of companies and they have invested in the technology and they buy the entire marketing experience stack from any company that's offering marketing technology, and it just sits there for $500,000 invested every year, and it just sits there, it's not being used. We heard that with 28% earlier, and that's very accurate. A lot of people fail because the people are not engaged, and we'll talk about stakeholder engagement later. They're not engaged and they're not educated. And even if they are, they may not have the processes to actually drive this. So are your processes in place? And then once you have done all that, is the customer experience you're driving with your B2B customers, with your consumer customers, is that experience positive across every touch point with your brand? Because otherwise we are on a downward spiral, right? This has to be a great experience for anybody touching you at any point in time with your brand or with your product. To give you an example, we're going to address these 9. We actually have a very deep dive. We call the maturity assessment. It's 150 questions and it's really a deep dive leading to a whole marketing technology implementation roadmap. Then we have the quick scan, which is 5 questions in each, so 45 questions. But for you today, to get a taste of what this is, we're not going to do 45 questions. We're going to do 1 question in each, right? So we're going very, very simply. We're going to ask you to score yourself where you are, given the information you heard. So you get an idea of where am I, where do I want to move to? We will then share with you at the end of the session today where are other companies on this, where are the best performing companies worldwide in each of these segments. And we will follow up with you if you fill it in and leave your name. We will follow up with you and give you an anonymized version of everybody's scores in this room so you can see how was I compared to the others. Now that is not relevant in your business segment, but it gives you an idea of how is a group of companies in Thailand scoring themselves. Giving you an idea from offers and targeting, am I sending out a manual batch and blast, or have I one-on-one personalized offers across the entire customer journey? I will dare to say nobody in here has that because it's very hard to achieve. So bear that in mind when you score yourself. Is my customer experience structured, no structure, or is it fully integrated, managed and optimized across all the channels, right? So for each of these, there are 2 extremes from being a laggard and being that multi-moment, and that is what we are looking for. Everybody's going to be looking for the value. What is my value in this? This is BCG, this is Google. They have done this analysis twice now. This is the first one they did. It hasn't really changed. They just go through the 4 stages: nascent, emerging, connected, multi-moment. We have added kind of a stage 0 because Asia is just in a different development stage than some of the US and Europe where they have focused on. The idea here is, though, that as you go through your digital transformation, and in this one, the marketing maturity transformation, you will be driving your efficiency. And that means you can serve the customer at a lower cost. You will also drive more revenue, means your revenue will actually increase. So as you go through this process, you will see a lower cost, so a higher efficiency of serving, lower cost of serving, and you will see a revenue that is increasing. And the proof in the pudding here is that if you look across different pieces, you actually see that the companies that have been in and did this early on. So if we take in QSR, quick service restaurants, Domino's very early on said, okay, this is where it's going. We are now a technology company that happens to serve pizza. And they have outperformed on the stock market compared to Yum Brands and McDonald's that were really laggards in adapting this technology and still today have not implemented it to the extent that Domino's has. If you go to luxury, Prada for years was saying it's about the stores, it's about the stores, and it's about the stores. And Kering said, well, hang on a second, the millennials actually want to shop online. We have a unique opportunity to service them on a one-on-one engagement here, and they invested, and they have way outperformed. Yum in China went a different way than Yum in the rest. It's a separate company. You go in there, you can pay with facial recognition. It's a complete different level of engagement, and they have outperformed as well. And the same goes in sports branding. You can find this across the different sectors. So if you're wondering whether you should start your digital transformation, we say the proof is here. You want your share prices to go up. You want your bonuses to come out. You want to have a good pension. Today is the day to start. Really, what this is about is getting insights. It's about saying how mature is the company of each of these 9 marketing and data disciplines. How can I establish concrete, actionable insights on each of these pillars and for each level of that maturity? And can I uncover clear next steps that I can prioritize according to the value impact that I know where to start? And this is why a lot fail and 28% only succeed. A lot of companies get stuck because it's so hard to get started. And we visited some companies here yesterday as well, and they just don't know how to get started. And you see projects where they actually go out and they start driving things towards the consumers just because otherwise we might get left behind later on. But that's not a reason for an investment. It's never going to drive value for the company. When you do this, the output that usually comes out of this, and I'll give you an idea, is you get a benchmark and an overview. Where am I? Where is the industry? Where is my lowest scoring brand or my lowest scoring participant? Where is my lowest scoring country, depending on how you run it? And where is my highest scoring? I'll get back to that in a second. You get assessment, right, saying what's actually working, what are we doing well? Let's not forget this, we need to continue. Where are all my opportunities for improvement? And what do I want to focus on, right? What are my key recommendations in the next 6 months and the 6 to 12 months? You get your own maturity score across these 9 marketing dimensions. And then there's actually detailed scoring across individuals, functions, departments, and so on that you want to have. You also, then we go in and say, well, here's actually our scoring of you, because we'll see that everybody scores differently, and we'll get back to that later on. And then you get into saying, okay, here's my scoring, here's where I am now, here's where I want to go to, and this is the step I need to take. And then you'll prioritize this because you can't start all 9 things tomorrow. You'll pick 2 or 3 and get going with that to be realistic and start having an impact that the organization will feel. All right, so get out your phones pretty much, and then we'll move on to that, right? So it's not the full survey. What we're going to do is give you a chance to challenge your own understanding and comfort level with each of these pillars. You can gauge your organization's readiness of each of the 9 pillars, and you can benchmark yourself to the other participants. In here, we'll send that out. This is anonymous. You will only see your results yourself. We won't send your results around and say, hey, Citibank scored like this, right? So don't worry about filling it up. So the output you'll see in a second is this spiderweb. If anybody knows what it's called in proper English, we'll hear it. We couldn't figure it out earlier, but there's good spiderweb there where you are on each of the 9 pillars. The longer URL is down there. I tried to create a tiny URL yesterday that might be quicker. If you take that on your phone, your tablet, or your laptop, I hope that we are in a stage where technology is with us and it'll be working. You should be on this page now. You accept that and you move on to the next page, and then please fill in your information. I really would like you to fill in the event name as AmCham Bangkok June 18, just because then we can get the results collected later in the back end. So the first one is around offers and targeting, right? So to what extent are customers' propensity to buy at a specific time interval understood and used to deliver personalized offers across the customer's preferred channel? Now really, this is around using targeted communications to reach the customer for the purpose of creating a long-lasting relationship. This is the right content and it's the right timing to the right person. So this is really personalization at scale. Around having a strategy around your offers and targeting to target the right customers for messages that's based on their behavior. And the behavior here includes channel preferences, purchase history, and any specific time intervals. The scale goes from we're not doing this at all to that we're doing this fully. If you say you're doing this fully or you're scoring yourself highly, just remember that you later on will also score your technology usage. And if you do not have the technology in use today of marketing technology, it is just impossible to drive this. You cannot manually, unless you have one customer, or 10 maybe, but you cannot manually actually send out messages and analyze messages for more than a few customers at a time, right? This requires technology to be maturing. The next question is around the channels. Those channel interactions, are they captured, and are your online and offline channels synced to deliver a personalized message at each touch point through the customer journey? Right? Imagine you're in banking, somebody comes into your, I feel like big on Citibank, I just didn't mean that, but you come into your bank in a retail banking environment and you do something at the counter, which I think still happens here a lot. Do they know what you applied for online yesterday? Are they aware that your housing loan, they should give you an offer to refinance that, or is that only seen online, right? There's a lot of pieces here where you integrate that across. If you go into a retail store and buy clothing, do they know what you bought online yesterday? Do they know the last skin test that you had and the last products you bought, and are they asking you how that's performing for you, for instance, if you are in a beauty environment? So this is around providing companies with a better understanding of how much revenue does each channel generate, offline and online, right? So we can categorize and analyze the data from these customers who search online, click on an ad, respond to an email campaign, purchase a product, and so on and so on. So it's important to analyze it around the channels. So what is driving that increased conversation and increased touch points? And then knowing which channels your customers prefer to establish that communication. They really want to shop with you offline, why do you keep driving them to online unless it's just for the cost to serve, right? Is that not at all? Is it somewhat, or is that fully? Now moving to engagement. So to what extent is content dynamically customized to deliver timely, targeted, and personalized engagement pieces to consistently engage the right customers at the right time as per their buying. So engagement is around engaging the customers with the brand, be that B2B or B2C. It invites the customers to participate in a conversation with your brand, where the overall goal here is to make the brands matter and enhance the customer experience. This strategy talks to the customer with the right content at the right time to the right person to build meaningful, engaged relationships over time. Now moving to data and analytics. To what extent does your company store and have access to all customers' historical transaction data to measure and track the customer lifetime value? This is really the process of utilizing data sets to uncover patterns, correlations, and trends in their preferences and their attitudes. Right? You can use this to deliver targeted offers and messages that are distinct, relevant, and personalized to that customer. If you're in B2B, what are the manufacturing that they bought yesterday, right? What have they just installed? Is that working out for them? The end goal here is to grasp intelligent marketing so you can deliver the highest customer experience. When you capture that right data, explicit and implicit, you're able to get one step closer to this goal. And technology, right? So is your current marketing technology integrated with your data management platforms? Can you deploy and track communications through multiple channels in real time? So you have different modes of technology to reach these customers. Can be market platforms, marketing automation, advertising technology, and so on. There's a lot of different offers out there, but it's around analyzing and capture personalized messages and offers in real time. So you can take an action-driven, data-driven approach to marketing that is relevant in the online and marketing and all the data tools we have today. Just like somebody mentioned the phones we had earlier, right? So we have all the phones with us as a good chance to reach customers at any point in time, and they want you to respond at any point in time as well. Do you have the technology for this? And then customer experience. Is it a standard everyday practice at all levels of the organization? And do you use customer experience as a metric to measure the perception of your brand in the eyes of the customer? Right? This is the practice of placing the customer at the center of the marketing strategy and focusing solely on improving their experience by engagement and communication. This is around low interaction cost, and the goal here is to increase the customer's satisfaction and create brand loyalty. And do you have differentiated campaigns for loyal customers? Do you use the data models to identify potential loyal customers and proactive engaged customers with the highest probability to become loyal customers, right? Loyalty is an approach to marketing that's really strategic management, in which you focus on growing and retaining existing customers through various incentives. These incentives doesn't have to be discounts. Loyalty and discount is not the same thing. Discount can be a margin eroding strategy that's often mistaken for loyalty. and the people? Are the skills, KPIs, team structure up to date, and they synced so that the business objectives are aligned to deliver on the business goals? Your people are your most important assets, and they need to be trained and have the skills to make this work. And finally, do you have the process that are mapped to meeting business and marketing objectives? Are these optimized, and do you audit them along the way to improve these outcomes? And then you should be able to click submit now, and hopefully it's of course fairly simple, as you only score yourself one on one of these pillars, right, instead of scoring yourself with several questions where we dive deeper. But hopefully it has given you an idea to challenge yourself about the perception where you are, and also give you an idea of what's possible today and where you could move to. Okay, that was the end of this one. Thank you. We just heard a great, actually, stakeholder engagement. We just heard that's all around the people. I think that's absolutely correct. So a great example from Brenton earlier as well on how to get stakeholder engagement. So we'll skip a lot of the case story here and just go a bit quick. Basically, for stakeholders, for your people, going into digital transformation projects, it feels like navigating a maze. So basically they're asking, what's the end step? Where are we even going? Where do you want to go with this? Why do you want to go there? How do you want me to get there, right? And if you get disengaged employees, they basically get left behind in that maze. And this is why the projects get stuck. It is around the people. What you need to start with here is you need to define the end state, and you need to get that buy-in. And I think we heard that there's a clear vision where they want to end up with the TV here, right? By the channel 3, right? I get that right. Where you want to go. And then when you describe that world, how does that look like in the transformed state? You can get people enthusiastic. They can get excited. So how does the clients experience the brand? How does the stakeholders operate? Everybody needs to know where they're going towards. What are we trying to achieve? That's an example of that. We're going to skip that because we're just going to stick to the points today. So the next point here is you need to normalize the understanding of the starting point, because often we don't agree where we are. If we don't agree where we are, and I realize now, you said we're old, we are old. I took a map. A lot of people in here never used a physical map, right? They're too young. Everything is Google Maps and it always tells you where you are. But imagine your Google Maps not telling you where you are. If you don't know where you're starting from, you don't know where you're going. So to give you an example of that, just take the MQS there. We did an MQS with 8 people in a senior leadership. Now look at the differences, right? Look bottom left of where somebody say they are on customer experience, right, on process. Look at bottom right where somebody else says we are at this point in time. Look up here, right? Customer experience, offers and targeting. No, we are perfect at it. If you have a different understanding of where you are at this point in time, you might have the same goal, but you completely disagree around the issues in the organization. Completely disagree on what it is you're going to change. So this is why it's so important to figure out, where are we today? Can we agree on this? Because this shows a lack of understanding of what's available. What is available of digital tools? How does young customers operate today? When they wake up and they look at their phone as the first thing, you may not do that, but your customers may do that. So this is showing that we do not understand what is possible, and we don't agree where we are. So if you don't know where you're starting from, you can't navigate to that endpoint you have set up. And once you have done this, this is when you can start charting the course of how to get there. We now know where we are starting from. We have defined where we want to end up, and now you can set out that course of how you're going to get there. And this is how you can get the buy-in. Without the buy-in from the people and in the culture, you won't have that backup of the people to get you there. And this is one example of a roadmap, for instance, you can do. Time, we can share these, we'll just move on. This is the case. So this is basically showing somebody who's saying, here's my existing state, this is how I measure it, this is where I want to go to, and this is how I'm going to measure it. We go on to the next slide. This is details, right, of how we're walking through that. And then again here, make sure you measure along the way. Are we moving with these metrics we wanted to do? Are we moving along? And make sure that everybody owns a piece. If people don't own a piece in the organization of this transformation and of this change, they're going to get disengaged. So in summary, I think I was the quickest today. So in summary, this is it, right? Define where you want to go. So if you leave with 3 things today, leave with these 3. Define where you want to go, create a common understanding of where you start from, and finally, then set the course, right? And ensure the involvement to get that buy-in as you move along. Thank you very much.